Hello, this is Angelia, and you are watching or listening to the podcast, Why You Do What You Do. The podcast that talks about human development and psychology to kind of help you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. And last time we were talking about early sexual activity and how that can be from, some bad situations where the person was growing up. Excuse me here while I adjust this a little bit. I don't need to be like off one side or the other. And today we're gonna start on contraceptive use. Now I know there are also different opinions and belief systems on that. Okay, don't talk to me about it. I didn't invent them. Whatever. In 1995, about 1 out of 4 teenagers said they had not used contraception the first time they had intercourse. So, that's scary. They could have got an STD, they could have had a child, as a teenager because they did not use birth control. So you need to educate these people on, there is such a thing and it can help you. Because it's naive to think your children are not going to have sex. They're going to have sex. So, be with it, Although 9 out of 10 sexually active teenage girls and their partners do use contraception, many do not use it correctly or consistently. So you need to kind of make sure the kids know how to use this contraception. And personally, I think it's good for the parent to provide it if, it's a thing. And remind them every time, you need to use this. A sexually active girl who does not use contraceptives has a 90% chance of becoming pregnant within a year. A 90% chance. So, if your teenage girl's having sex and not using contraception, there's a 90% chance she's going to become pregnant within the year. Let's face it, that's pretty close to 100. That's still an A. So you need to tell them about this. Teenagers, especially young teens, are more likely than adult women to use contraception sporadically or not at all because they're still young. They still don't understand quite how it all works. And there's a lot of the "it won't happen to me" mindset still when you're a teenager. To where, well, that happens to other people. That's not going to happen to me, And yes, it can. The best safeguard for sexually active teens is regular use of condoms, which gives some protection against STDs as well as against pregnancy, So, it's what I kind of told my kids, if you're going to, and this is something that I heard from, I think it was Gene Simmons, if you're going to go play in the rain, you wear a raincoat. So, you don't want to have your sons be fathers too early and your girls be mothers too early. It's not a thing, Yeah, I got a little OCD about that, so don't worry about it. I like it to be centered. But that's just me. So, I've had a rough day. So, why let your child be exposed to an STD? Why let them become a mother or father before they're ready? A lot of places, a lot of public health centers give out free condoms. You can go in and get a little bag at some places. Or sometimes schools still do. But, even if you have to buy it yourself, or if they have a job, if they're 16, they can buy it themselves. But, protect your children. You don't want them to get STD. Some of these are bad and they can kill you. And you don't want them to become a parent before they're ready, And some people, I'll teach them a lesson. No, that won't teach them a lesson. That's going to make them be a parent before they're ready and shorten their life, make their life more stressful, and not allow them to have the opportunities that he could have had, if, they hadn't become a parent too young. Condom use has increased dramatically in recent years, probably due to educational campaigns. And I'm sure we've, seen all the ones, and of course in school and during sex ed and everything, they kind of push that thing. And it's a good thing because, like I said, if you think your teenager's not going to have sex, you're fooling yourself. They're going to have sex one way or another. Those hormones are kicking, those feelings are rising. It's going to happen, even if they're just by themselves in the bathroom or whatever, it's going to happen. But in my book, if you're going to be a responsible parent, you're going to make sure that there is birth control available so that they do not end up, and like I said, a condom is a good thing to keep most STDs away. Not all, but sometimes, and to keep them from becoming a parent before they're ready. Most psychologists say that the parents who are the best parents are between age 30 and 35. So that's what I told my kids. Don't get married till you're 30, and between 31 and 35 have kids. And, that's the best outcomes. The proportion of sexually active boys who reported using condoms the last time they had sex rose from 53% to 64% between 1988 and 1995, while reliance on partners' use of the pill showed a corresponding decline. So, used to be, and back then you hear, well, she told me she was on the pill, and boys are realizing, maybe not, and also that doesn't protect you from STDs. So the boys are kind of taking a little bit more responsibility for their own actions and, wrapping their rascal, as the saying goes. There is no evidence that education about condom use and availability contributes to increased sexual activity. And that's, of course, some ignorant people's ideas that if you talk to them about it, it's going to increase the desire to do it. No, it's not. It's called educating them so that they understand this is a big serious thing. This is how you can get a disease that'll kill you. This is how you can make other people and bring them into the world, and you're responsible for them. This is something that they need to understand. Where do teenagers get information about sex? In bad places sometimes. Today's teenagers tend to know more about sex than their predecessors did, and that's because of sex education. In 1995, about 96% of 18 to 19-year-olds, as compared with only 80% of 25 to 29-year-olds, and 65% of 35 to 39-year-olds, reported having had formal sex instruction. We did have sex ed as part of our health class when I was in high school. I'm glad we had it because, I learned that there was contraception available, in the health center. Because I had very authoritarian parents and sex was not allowed. But let's face the facts. When you're a teenager, it's going to happen. And we came up with our own ideals. And then, like I said, when my mother found out, she decided, oh, okay, well, we're going to do birth control. We don't need to have kids right now. So, it's a better outcome if you teach your children and are proactive, with your children. Now I know a girl whose mother forced her to go on birth control when she was 14 years old. I went to school with her and she's like, I'm on birth control. My mother forced me to go on, but she said, you're not getting pregnant when you're in high school. And she said, I'm not even having sex. So she was like, appalled that her mother would do this to her. So, don't force it. Don't not discuss it. But like I say, keep involved in what's going on. And if there becomes a boyfriend or girlfriend, then it's time to probably have that little talk. That's like, hey, I don't know if you guys are having sex yet, or if you're thinking about having sex with them. But what's your plan for, keeping yourself safe and not having a baby? And, they'll answer you, they might be embarrassed, a little red face, but then you can say, oh, okay, well, here, you can go here, so, just be there for them. Oh my gosh, people. This instruction typically covered birth control methods, sexually transmitted diseases, safe sex to prevent HIV infection, and how to say no to sex, because that's not something that generally is taught. You know, girls feel pressured, boys feel pressured, and they have to know it's okay to say no. That if you don't want to do this, it's okay to say no. Since 1988, federally and state-funded programs stressing abstinence from sex until marriage as the best or only option have become common. And that's because of, the resurgence of a certain aspect of society that is into the fundamentalist, they call themselves this, Christian movement. But let's face the facts. Has abstinence ever been successful in the history of the human race? Teenagers who are knowledgeable about sex are more likely to use contraceptives and to use them consistently. So the ones who know about it handle it better. They are also more likely to postpone sexual intimacy, the most effective means of birth control. So the kids who do get the education understand it better, and they're more likely to say no or I want to wait, versus the other kids who, we're not supposed to do this, so let's do it. It must be fun if the parents are telling us not to do it. And that's how that usually works. Many of the new abstinence programs offer a rounded approach, helping young people to build healthy relationships, self-esteem, and decision-making skills, because those things are important to your well-being. And if you're not in a good place mentally or emotionally, you're not making good sexual decisions for yourself. And to aspire to marriage and parenthood, because let's face that, in our sexual dalliances, we're looking for a partner. We're looking for a partner who we love and like well enough to spend the rest of our life with. And we want to fall in love and get married and have children with and raise these children into the cool little people they become. And then get old and sit in our rocking chairs smiling and holding hands with each other, when we're toothless and old. That's the goal. Programs that encourage abstinence, but also discuss HIV prevention and promote safer sexual practices for adolescents who are sexually active, have been found to delay sexual initiation and increase contraceptive use. So like I said, the more they know, the wiser decisions they can make for themselves, However, among the 7 out of 10 public school districts that provided district-wide sex education in 1999, 35% promoted abstinence as the only option. So, that's crazy to me. Even though abstinence only courses have not been known to delay sexual activity. So, there are 10 public school districts, that are teaching this. And they know, based on the studies, that it's ineffectual to do abstinence only. Yet they're still doing it because of whatever belief system they have in place there. And it's not working. So, talk to your kids, teach your kids, because saying don't do it is not going to work. Furthermore, abstinence programs do not always clearly define what abstinence means, whether it covers oral sex and other non-coital activity, because that is sex as well. After an extensive review of the research, Surgeon General David Satter urged communities to provide thorough and medically accurate sex education. Because, like I say, when the children know more, they can make better decisions for themselves. And we know teenagers rebel. That's a fact of life. So the best way for you to get your child to have an STD and become pregnant is to say, don't do it. Oh, we're going to do it. Come on, people. Of course, parents are young people's first and often best teachers. And yes, we are. We are the bottom line. We are the bedrock from which they build the rest of their life on. So you need to be able to teach them things and be able to talk to them about things. Get over whatever hang up you got, whatever embarrassments you got, whatever. It's not about that. So that you can help them make wise decisions for themselves. Teenagers whose attitudes and have been available to answer questions. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Teenagers whose parents have talked with them about sex from an early age have communicated healthy attitudes and have been available to answer questions tend to wait longer for sexual activity. So the more involved you are as a parent, the better decisions these kids are going to make for themselves. And if you're open and honest with them and discuss things and tell them things, they're more likely that they'll listen to you. Teenagers who can go to their parents or other adults with questions about sex and those who get sex education from school or community programs have a better chance of avoiding pregnancy and other risks connected with sexual activity. So, like I said, teaching them, telling them is important. They can make wise decisions for themselves versus being ignorant and thinking they just don't want us to do it because they don't want us to, have this fun, or they're worried that, this will happen, but it won't happen to me, because that's, like I said, some of the belief system that they carry. Unfortunately, many teenagers get much of their sex education from the media, which presents a distorted view of sexual activity, associating it with fun, excitement, competition, danger, or violence, and rarely showing the risks of unprotected sexual relations. And I'm sure we've all, seen movies and shows and things where, this is what the cool kids are doing, and, boy rivals for the girl, and then the girl, is going to give it to the one who wins, and blah, blah, blah. That's not reality. You need to talk to your kids about that. That is not reality. And the reality is more real, more different, and they need to be prepared for this. Several studies suggest a link between media influence and early sexual activity. So, if the kids are seeing this, chances are they're going to emulate. So, again, you need to teach them, and they can make wise decisions. The amount of time young people spend watching television may be less important than their involvement with what they are seeing. So some kids get more involved with what they're seeing, whereas other kids, it's just something to kill the time, that, till they're done doing whatever they're doing. Among a multi-ethnic sample of 314 college undergraduates, students who said they identified strongly with the characters in situation comedies dealing with sexual issues, or who judged the portrayals as very realistic, tended to endorse recreational attitudes towards sex. So, see, they learn what they see. And if they think, oh, yeah, it's fun, we'll just go do with whoever we want to, well, then you end up with AIDS and babies, and that's not a good thing. They also tended to be more sexually experienced and to expect more sexual activity among peers than students who were less involved with what they saw on the screen. So, some kids get too into it, and they think this is how it is on the TV, and in movies, this is how it should be in my life, but maybe it's not, so maybe I need to change some things. And yeah, no, you need to talk to them about everything. Your job is to teach these people that you're raising. Thus, intense television viewing seems to help shape views of what is normal and expected. And again, you need to remind them that the television is not normal. It's all media hype. It's all made up. It's all, just part of the world. But a lot of it falls down to advertisers. So you need to tell them this, that this is not real. This is not how this goes. Sexually transmitted diseases, or STDs. Each year, about 3 million, or 1 in 4, sexually experienced teenagers in the United States contract an STD. Okay, let's look at that again. 3 million, 1 in 4. So 1 in 4 teenagers having sex is gonna get a sexually transmitted disease. Why would you not want to protect your child from that with those odds? This is among the highest rate in the industrialized world. So here in the U.S., our kids are getting STDs at a rate highest in the world. So what does that tell you? That there needs to be less Puritan attitudes towards sex and a little more proactiveness about, protecting our children from sexually transmitted disease and unwanted pregnancies. All right. Preventing teenage pregnancies. Although teenage pregnancy and birth rates in the United States dropped dramatically during the 1990s, they remain many times higher than in other industrialized countries where adolescents begin sexual activity just as early or earlier. So here in the U.S., our girls are getting pregnant at a higher rate than other, industrialized or civilized, whatever you want to call them, countries. So that tells me there's a problem with our sex ed, huh? Teenage birth rates in recent years have been nearly 5 times as high in the United States as in Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland, and 12 times as high as in Japan. We're way behind on this, folks. 22% of American girls have had children before age 20. 22%. That's almost a fourth. As compared with 15% of British girls, 11% of Canadian girls, 6% of French girls, and 4% of Swedish girls. So once again, we're way behind the curve on this one. Some observers point to such factors as the reduced stigma on unwed motherhood. And, that's become a thing, the baby mama, and, oh, I got a baby, yeah, I got a kid by so-and-so. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. You done, goofed up your life because when you should be going to college and doing things and, building your life, you got a kid to take care of. And like I said, there are good mothers out there who will babysit for their child's child. There's a lot of grandmas out there who step in, but that's not always the case. So again, this child needs to make wise decisions for themselves. Media glorification of sex. Once again, media does this. Media, pushing sex because sex sells. The lack of a clear message that sex and parenthood are for adults, and that's something you should say, this is a grown-up thing. Yeah, you're gonna want to do this, but if you don't want to have a child as a child, then you need to practice safe sex. The influence of childhood sexual abuse, because in America we have that problem. And once a girl, like I said the other day, has been sexually abused, she's more likely to continue to have sex because she now feels like she's ruined. And so why not? This is what boys want anyway. Might as well give them what they want and do stuff, And failure of parents to communicate with children. Again, that's your job as a parent, is to communicate with your child, to teach them and talk to them. Comparisons with the European experience suggest the importance of other factors. U.S. girls are more likely to have multiple sex partners and less likely to use contraceptives. So again, you need to explain these kids. Bed hopping is not cool or fun. And that was a phase, here with the whole free love thing from like probably the 60s to, the probably close to the 2000s where, bed hopping was a thing. It was fun. Oh, yeah, I did so many people. And no, gross. How many STDs did you get? That's disgusting. And again, contraceptives, teach them how to get them, when they should use them, how to use them. Because, kids don't need to be having kids. They're not grown themselves. They're not mature enough to deal with this. Europe's industrialized countries have provided universal, comprehensive sex education for a much longer time than in the United States because they figured it out. They didn't have the warring political system that we have here in America that keeps the ball from rolling. Comprehensive programs encourage young teenagers to delay intercourse, but also aim to improve contraceptive use among sexually active adolescents. Because, like I said, let's face the facts, they're just going to do it. And, you're going to want to protect your kids. Come on. Such programs includes education about sexuality and acquisition of skills for making responsible sexual decisions and communicating with partners. So see, they're, teaching them not only contraceptive use, but how to take care of themselves and how to think for themselves and not be pressured, They provide information about risks and consequences of teenage pregnancy, which there is a risk. You become pregnant as a teenager, you stop growing, That's a fact. And your body matures from, a adolescent into an adult. So, the bones start to harden, all the things that happen as you're an adult start to happen to you earlier, and you actually have a decreased lifespan if you have children early on. Birth control methods and about where to get medical and contraceptive help. And like I said, this is only going to help them make wise decisions for themselves. Excuse me. Programs aimed at adolescent boys emphasize the wisdom of delaying fatherhood and the need to take responsibility when it occurs. Because like I said, the psychologists have, done the studies and said, the ideal fatherhood age is age 30. And you're mature enough then to be bringing other people into the world and teaching them how to be people. So delaying that is a good thing. But also, if it happens, you need to take responsibility. There's a whole piece of society where, I got her pregnant, now I'm out. And those people are losers because they, number one, are not adults because they're not taking care of adult responsibilities. Number two, they're not going to be in the life of the child. And, later on they might decide they want to be in the life of the child. And the child's like, heck no, you left me, as a baby. Screw you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Who are you? You're nobody to me. So, In the United States, is the provision and content of sex education programs is a political issue. And that's the problem. Right here in our lovely country, it's a political issue. You got one side against the other side. If we did away with political parties, this country would be just 10,000 times better. But, sex education should not be a political issue. Because if you loved your children, you would not want them to have an STD. You would not want them to get pregnant at, 16. If you loved your children, you'd want to take care of them and educate them so that these things didn't happen to them. Some critics claim that community and school-based sex education leads to more or earlier sexual activity, even though evidence shows otherwise. So, these people who are saying this, you're wrong. The facts are, it doesn't. The facts are, it gives them enough information to say, ooh, well, that's serious. This sketchy dude over here, he looked kind of fun, but now he might have, AIDS or something. I don't want to go there. And, I want to go to school, and get a job, so I don't want to be getting pregnant, at age 16. I'm going to make different decisions for my life. An important component of pregnancy prevention in European countries is access to reproductive services. So, Now we have some clinics here where you can go and, get contraception. You can talk to, people about things. But more and more, it's a political issue, and there are more and more centers being closed down through pressure from, these politicians and things who decide this is a good decision for everybody when, it's not. So, contraceptives are provided free to adolescents in Britain, France, Sweden, and in many cases, the Netherlands. So, in these countries, the teens can go get their contraceptives, and they have less STDs and less teen pregnancies. So, what does that tell you? It works. Sweden showed a 5-fold reduction in the teenage birth rate following introduction of birth control education, free access to contraception, and free abortion on demand. Now, I don't believe in that. I believe abortion should be considered on a case-by-case basis. I believe that God creates life if you're doing what needs to happen to create life. If you're willingly creating life, everyone knows how this happens. Even little kids know how this happens. If you made a life, you're responsible for that life. Even if you have it and give it up for adoption, I don't believe a child that you willingly created should be aborted. Now, I do believe in cases of rape, because that was not your choice. That was that man's and the devil's choice, because the devil tempted him to do it. That's not a child of God. I believe in that case, abortion is okay. I believe in incest, where that child is more than likely going to have serious mental and physically disabilities. Once again, why put that child through that? So in those cases, I believe in that. And in cases where the mother's life is in danger, I feel like that should be an individual choice. I made the choice to not do that when my life was in danger. But not everybody might make that choice. They may have a bunch of other kids and, might not feel their child would be better off, without them. So that should be an individual choice, in my opinion. But I don't believe children are disposable in general, and that abortion on demand is a good thing. So that's where I'm going to leave you today. And I hope you my tongue today. I hope that helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. That's all for now. Until next time.